It's still the morning show here on Arise News, and now we take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. Nigeria's new Minister of Defense, retired General Christopher Musa, says citizens will see results in security within the shortest possible time. This was his own words. He made the pledge moments after being sworn in by President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa, adding that the president has tasked him with restoring everyday safety and normal life for all citizens. The ceremony was attended by his spouse, Lilian Musa, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, Senate President Godswill Akpabio, and Bishop Matthew Kuka, who represented the Sultan of Sokoto and notes his shared roots with Musa in Sokoto and southern Kaduna. Speaking after taking the oath, General Musa said his priority is to build stronger coordination across the armed forces and security agencies. Bishop Kuka says by the appointment of Musa, the president has shown his determination to swiftly address Nigeria's urgent security challenges.
My immediate priority is to make sure that defense takes its place fully in the country. The synergy between the armed forces, and other security agencies, and all Nigerians being carried along, as we have always said, that security is everybody's responsibility. It is that synergy that we need to build on and work on it, and that's what we're going to. And I can assure you, within the shortest possible time, Nigerians will see results. I want to use this medium to appreciate all Nigerians. Nigerians have shown me love, and I will guarantee them that I am going to work whatever it takes to ensure that Nigeria is secured, working together. Yes, I just met Mr. President, and he reiterated his mind on the aspect that we must make sure that Nigeria is secured. Nigerians should go back and sleep with their eyes closed, go back to their farms, schools open without being molested, everyone being carried together to make sure that Nigeria continues to grow in line with the renewed program of the Mr. President.
Everybody knows what the problem is. We just need restoration of normalcy in this country by any means possible. And I think that this job is in very good hands. It does seem very clearly that the president wants to reposition the issues of security, and I think the situation is in very good hands. I miss that, but we are on all fours as far as that is concerned. Look, rain, thunder, sunshine, whatever it takes to get this mess under control. These guys need to be flushed out. Normalcy needs to return to our country. Laughter and joy has to come back to Nigeria within the shortest time possible. All we do is to pray for the...
With the swearing in of the new defense minister, Nigeria's national security architecture is now firmly in the hands of 5 powerful figures whose roles cut across defense, intelligence, and law enforcement. From the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, to General Christopher Musa, retired Minister of Defense, as well as the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, these key individuals have the onerous task of resolving the country's knotty security challenges. In the intelligence community, Oluwatosin Ajayi holds sway as the Director General of the Department of State Services, complemented externally by the just appointed Dauda Mohammed, Director General of the National Intelligence Agency. Together, these 5 men form the backbone of Nigeria's security leadership, a coordinated structure of defense, policing, and intelligence designed to confront terrorism, banditry, organized crime, and emerging global threats. Moving on, President Tinubu has forwarded to the Senate for confirmation additional names of ambassadorial nominees, bringing the total to 68. The 68 nominees consist of 34 career and 34 non-career ambassadors. Notable nominees among the new ambassadorial nominees are Sulu Gambari Ahmed from Kwara State and Segun Ige from Edo State. The non-career ambassadorial nominees include the former River State Administrator, Vice Admiral Ibok Ibas, and Senator Solomon Ita Enang from Akwa Ibom State. 3 ambassadorial nominees, Kayode Are, Amidu Dalatu, and Ayodele Oke, whose names were earlier forwarded to the Senate last week, have been screened by the Committee on Foreign Affairs. Moving on to the southeast, the federal government of Nigeria has expressed unwavering commitment to fostering sustainable development in Nigeria's southeast region of the country. Vice President Kashim Shettima, while speaking in Owerri during the 2025 Imo State Economic Summit, said the federal government is ever ready to provide the tools and platform needed to unlock the nation's vast resources in agriculture, technology and manufacturing. Arise correspondent Saturday Ochia filled the report.
Team Igniting Prosperity, Innovation, Investment and Inclusive Growth draws together a coalition of global policy makers, business tycoon, and local entrepreneurs under one roof in Owerri. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to steer the nation's economy to a higher level despite all odds.
Our role is to work with you to unlock opportunities, to de-risk promising ventures, and to ensure that the benefits of development are felt across communities. To our investors here today, the message is unmistakable. Imo is open for business. Nigeria is open for business.
What attracts some of us is the good governance, rule of law, good policies that the government has actually put down right there. And you can see that there's actually nothing that's impossible. So our job is to keep investing at home. If we don't invest at home, there is nobody on earth that will come and invest here. What attracts foreign investors is a domestic investor.
Imo State is blessed with a gentle tropical climate and consists of coastal lowlands with numerous rivers and lakes, the most prominent of which are the Imo River, Orach and Okamiri rivers, as well as Oguta Lake. The state is divided into 3 agricultural zones of Okigwe, Olo, and Owerri.
The event also featured world leaders who speak on gender equality to a global partnership as a yardstick for sustainable development.
This is a time of great significance for taking climate action and accelerating achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, through cooperation and partnership.
Fantastic. You're blessed. And I think it's very, very good that you have such high levels of literacy. That's fantastic. And congratulations to everybody involved in that. I've got to tell you, there are parts of Africa, sadly, where female illiteracy is still running at more than 50%, right? But not here. Thank you. Congratulations. To unleash the potential, I think what the former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said was completely right. To unleash the potential of this whole continent. Every girl in Africa has got to get access to the same education as every boy. Number one.
Prominent guests at the event included President of Liberia, Joseph Boakai, Prime Minister of Sao Tome, and the Principal Admerico Romas, and some Nigerian governors, legislators, ministers, among others.
The federal government has defended the newly enacted tax laws, saying the reforms are not new burdens but measures to simplify Nigeria's tax system, eliminate multiple levies and boost investor confidence. Nigeria Tax Act and Nigeria Tax Administration Act sparked nationwide discussion with some citizens questioning their effect on businesses. Tax authorities, however, insist that the reforms had been widely misunderstood. They say the laws were aimed at modernizing tax administration, enhancing transparency, and strengthening revenue generation without stifling growth. Now to some cherry news. We end the news headline today on a good note, great note actually, as Arise News has been recognized on the continental stage, winning the inaugural Outstanding News Report Award at the Africa Media Awards in Ethiopia. Our correspondent, Ovieteme George, received the top prize following a rigorous selection by a distinguished Pan-African jury celebrating excellence, dedication, and impactful journalism. The award underscores Arise News' commitment to delivering trusted, high-quality reporting across Africa and around the world.
And the winner is Ovietem George of Arise News. I want to say thank you for this. God bless you.
Indeed, Your Excellencies, we are most honored from Arise News Channel from Nigeria to receive this award today. The winner of this award embodies excellence, courage, and professionalism, which clearly define Arise as global standout news channel.
From the creeks of the Niger Delta to the high table in Addis Ababa, and I dare say the global stage. And this was the words by Bosun Mofwaye in response to this amazing feat by Ovietemi George. Many of us are familiar with him. We see him bring the report home, and I don't think anyone would doubt at all his merit of this award. And a big congratulations to the Arise team. There are a number of people who work behind the scenes supporting those of us who are in front of the camera to ensure that we work well. Congratulations, Ovietemi George. Congratulations, Arise News.
Absolutely. Ovietemi is consistent. That's what I love about him. Consistent. He's always pushing the envelope. His reports are always well thought out, detailed, very well produced and executed. And he is certainly professional par excellence, so very deserving of him. But let's now get into some of the other issues of the day. There are so many, so I'll probably focus on two. Let's begin, of course, with the biggest story, which we've carried through this week. Now, the Minister of Defense has officially been sworn in. He's taken office, and he has assured us that within the shortest time frame possible, that we will begin to see the impact of his leadership and, of course, some of the other elements of rejigging that we've seen in the security architecture as instituted by the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. And I think this is what we're all waiting for with bated breath. However, there's one part of the equation that is still in the public forum of debate, and this is the issue of the Minister of Defense and Minister of State for Defense. And now the debate that's currently ongoing is there a need for a Minister of State for Defense? There are several arguments for and against. Those who are saying that it's time to scrap it are saying that the Minister of Defense should be given a degree of autonomy to be allowed to oversee all the issues concerning that ministry. For example, maritime is one of the departments that is handled by the Minister of State for Defense. And they're saying, how can a Minister of Defense have a cohesive security strategy if, for example, there happens to be a personality clash with his Minister of State? In this instance, you have a career military man who is now retired and has vast and deep experience on the field. And of course, you have a civilian in the office of Minister of State for Defense. Will they be able to come together to create a cohesive and impactful security strategy? Well, that stands to be seen. Some people are optimistic, some people are pessimistic. However, other people are arguing that it is important, if we are now going to have a retired military officer at the helm of affairs of Minister of Defense, then it's important for us to ensure that there are civilians still within the helm of affairs in that ministry, just to ensure the check and balances within the military hierarchy do not override the administrative side of what needs to happen in the ministry. So there's a conversation in the public space. I don't think it's about the personality of the current office holder of the Minister of State for Defense. I think it's more about our security architecture and what can become more impactful, what will be more effective, and what will take politics away from our Ministry of Defense and from our defense strategies permanently. So that's a conversation to be had. Now I quickly go to the economy, as of course we've seen clarification around the Nigeria Tax Act. Since even before this act was made law, we saw the robust debate that happened, and we saw how polarizing it became. However, eventually all kinks were ironed out, and we were able to come into agreement with regards to moving forward with the much needed tax reforms. Of course, we all know that this boost to our fiscal is highly necessary. The revenue is required. beyond infrastructure, there are developmental needs, and there are also social security needs, and they need to be funded from within the tax net, and it needs to be expanded. That is very well acknowledged. However, concerns are now around, is it taxation for revenue or taxation for growth? And can these two things coexist? Because some of the introductions, because of course, as the law now plays out, the details, the finer details are beginning to unravel. And many, especially in the manufacturing sector, are saying they're concerned because this is looking like taxation for revenue without consideration for growth. For example, the capital gains tax, which has been one of the biggest bones of contention, which has been increased by 200%, from 10% to 30%. And we saw the immediate impact of this on the stock exchange that had had a bullish year and suddenly started losing. We started seeing people selling over concerns about this 30% capital gains tax. Now, the FIRS have come out to say that there's going to be a moratorium of 12 months for those who do sell and reinvest in Nigerian companies, and then also that all investors that have invested into value shares up until December 31st, 2025 will not be impacted by this. However, people are still saying that this might be something that concerns investors, especially in our equities market that we know has been bullish and has been hugely popular. So what needs to happen? Because how can we get to a stage like a country like Singapore that's known as the gold standard for being able to balance taxation for revenue and taxation for growth? We know that our industries are currently battling high interest rates. With the current interest rates that are going, the reports have shown that borrowing from local banks from the manufacturing sector has declined by 20%. So now the addition of some of these taxes coming from the tax reform, that of course the tax ombudsman is saying it's not additional taxes, we are harmonizing. However, for us to see the impact of this harmonization, there are some lessons that can be learned from Singapore. Number one, strong institutional discipline. And number two, strong social contract. If we can see these taxes translating into something tangible, and if we can see that they will smoothen our tax processes and our systems, then they may be palatable and they may not end up scaring away investors. But for now, there are concerns around the impact on investment.
Okay, very quickly. The topics are many, but I'll try to run through them. Let me start with the swearing-in of General Christopher Musa, and congratulations to him, but that's procedural. Once you are appointed, either as a minister, minister of state, or special advisor, you get sworn in. There are persons who go about calling themselves all kinds of things, who never went through that process of going through the formal process of being inducted to the Nigerian system. However, for General Christopher Musa, we now have a complete procedure. Now, the point he made at that event about, ensuring that all the units work together was the same point that he made when he appeared before the National Assembly, the Senate of the Federal Republic. And the point is about collaboration. And I think that issue is important. And I think that's why the producer pointed attention to the 5 key persons who are involved in managing the security architecture, namely the DG DSS, the DG NIA, the Inspector General of Police, the National Security Advisor, and now the Minister of Defense. I think it is very important that they work together. Yeah, this thing about personality clashes and all that, well, you cannot rule it out. Attached to it is ethnicity, attached to it is religion, attached to it is all kinds of primordial sentiments. And people that we appoint to positions in Nigeria are also slaves, victims, hostages of these primordial sentiments, and it could play out. But the thing to say is that these 5 key players that the editors of Arise News have identified is to say that they have to work together. Because as the president has said, there is a national emergency with regard to security in Nigeria. And the only way we can achieve results is for those 5 men shaping Nigeria's security architecture to work together. And for each person to understand what is called role-playing. Not for Mr. X trying to upstage Mr. Y, not for Mr. D trying to upstage. The roles are properly defined. And it is important that nobody tries to upstage the other or to try to dominate the room beyond what they have been, the assignment that they have been given. However, the president also has a responsibility in this regard, because in a presidential system, it is who the president empowers that can function. If the president of Nigeria says the man cleaning the room in the presidential villa, he wants to empower him, you will be surprised that a minister will report to that cleaner. So it's a game of power. So what we're saying, therefore, is that, look, all these units, all these key units should be supported, and the Minister of Defense should be given the backing that he deserves. So that's just about that, simplicity. And we expect, of course, as I've always said here, that expectations are high. Christopher Musa is now there. Other people are with him. Now there are expectations. And all of them must deliver and, understand the phrase emergency in a literal sense and try to work together. Now to the issue of taxation. Now, on paper, what has been proposed by the government and articulated by the FIRS, there's no problem with it. Government wants to get more revenue. Government wants to encourage investments, whether it's regard to companies' income tax, value-added tax, petroleum profit tax, capital gains tax, and all of that. Okay, fine. On paper, it looks very good. But I'd like to say that the taste of the pudding is in the eating. The major problem with tax administration in Nigeria is in the administration. And also public trust. I've co-edited, edited, 2 books on taxation. So I'm not talking Google. I know what I'm talking about. Now, so you see what then happens is that we should give FIRS, say, okay, this thing will take effect in January. We will give FIRS 6 months. The taste of the pudding is in the eating. We will see what the effect is. If it doesn't work the way the federal government of Nigeria has envisaged, then of course there will be room for adjustments. Just as some people now are calling for adjustments to the Petroleum Industry Act. After all, any piece of legislation, the test of it is in its implementation. So now the objective of trying to upgrade the taxation regime in Nigeria and make it more internationally compliant with standards, I don't think that there's a problem with that. But I think we should do a 6-month test and see what happens. In what regard? How do industries fare better? Because FIRS has been, their name is going to change by January. They've been telling us that industries will do better. They've been telling us that individuals will do better. So we will see it. We will know it. If it happens, if I have to buy a bottle of Coke, I don't know how much they sell it. I don't drink all these, sweetened drinks. We will know. So we will be willing to pay. But generally, Nigerians are very poor. There is a crisis of poverty, and poor people don't like to pay tax. So how do you manage the situation to make sure that the people buy into it? And that's where the issue of trust comes in. And that's why I recommend a 6-month period during which you can see exactly what happens. Now, tax. I've talked about tax. Imo investment.
Imo State, Imo Summit,
look,
Economic Summit.
Governor Hope Uzodinma is a genius in political grandstanding, showcasing. And I think he did an excellent job with the Imo Investment Summit. He brought everybody from all over the world, including former Prime Ministers Boris Johnson, former Secretary General of the UN, Ban Ki-moon, I think was on the building, former President of Afrexim Bank, Professor Benedict Urama, Aliko Dangote, everybody was here. Even the compere, one of the compares was Aisha Sese. He didn't think, he wanted a local event where he would be inviting local people like me to come and compare. You know, it was truly international. And I give it to him.
Doctor, but you're very international.
No. He doesn't want local people.
No,
so he had this grand
that.
event, you know, which was okay. But fine. Now the issue, the vice president was there. He said, federal government will support Imo State to promote investment. Federal government will do policy support and all of that. But the vice president made a point that nobody should forget. That the state governments themselves have a responsibility to ensure that national prosperity is achievable, and that they must also take responsibility for accommodating what they themselves are asking for. They must take responsibility for economic direction. And I think, for me, that was the major takeaway from that summit. So all this point about federal government going to support, that's fine. That's just normal talk. What are the state governments, not just in Imo State, but also in the other states in the Southeast, what are they doing to make sure that there's economic growth and prosperity in the Southeast? Nothing. In Anambra State, okay, the governor has been saying, we will promote industrialization, we will do this. He has been asking in the Anambra that is in Lagos and elsewhere, the average Igbo man who has money, he wants to invest in other states. How many of them are investing in Imo State? How many of them are investing in Anambra State? Right? Well, where is the industrial base in Anambra State? What support are the state governments giving to development? What is the level of investment in agriculture? You may say there is no land. Okay, let us at least see some effort. Now the Nigerian government that is saying we will provide support. We will support industrialization in the Southeast. Okay, they placed 15% levy on importation. They cancelled it. They removed it. How do you encourage local productivity if you say, anything can arrive in Nigeria? And they're out of the guest list, the people that Governor Uzodinma invited. Okay, Aliko Dangote, who has done a lot, is the only serious person I saw among some of the people talking there. And I think Professor Benedict Orama, formerly of Afrexim Bank, who is committed to, developing industrialization in Africa. So those two people, they brought Boris Johnson, who came to tell us that we give you whiskey in Nigeria, and you people, you export oil and gas to us, you give us Nollywood. I say, I'm very, very happy with our relationship with Nigeria. That's ultimate top-class British sarcasm. Boris Johnson was just insulting us, telling us that we are not a serious country. I think he even said we gave them a future British Prime Minister, Kemi Badenoch. You invite somebody who came there to insult us and indirectly tell us that we are not a serious country. And it's not only Imo State or Anambra or Abia or Ebonyi. Which state in Nigeria is doing industrialization? So it takes us back to the original point that the point made by Vice President Shettima, that the states have a responsibility to start charity at home because the federal government will support at the level of policy. So we don't have that synergy. And that's why we have this flip-flop. We are an import-dependent country. Most of the things we can produce, we are importing. And then they say 15% import levy, they change their mind. So how does government want to encourage local production? So there are too many contradictions here. Let me stop. The producer has been ranting.
No, he's been cheering you on. You're spitting today, Dr. Batian, definitely, absolutely correctly. When Alhaji Aliko Dangote was speaking in that report, he had said that the best way to attract foreign investment, let me quote him, what attracts foreign investment is domestic investment. And one of the ways that we look at it is that Nigeria has an ease of doing business index that measures each state and how easy it is to do business in that state. First of all, let me say that this is a move in the right direction. The two-day economic summit by Imo State, led by Governor Hope Uzodinma, is the first in the history of the state. And we've seen these kinds of summits in other states. And I see that other states are now looking at how they can improve their economic potentials and attract investment to the state. In the last index, which has been changed from the Ease of Doing Business Index to Competitive Index in 2025, only recently they had the awards, that's PEBEC. Imo State was not listed as the top 10 states in Nigeria for ease of doing business. The last time, because the new head of PEBEC believes that let's not shame the states, just release the top 10 states. Lagos came first, Kaduna second, Oyo State came third in terms of competitiveness and ease of doing business. However, the last time where all the states were profiled in 2023, at least where the report was released, Imo State came 13 out of the 36 states in the federation, and including the FCT. And it dropped from 11th position, which was the last time. And so we must have critical conversations as to how well states are able to generate revenue and attract investment based on how easy it is to do business in Nigeria. Across the federation, of course, we know some general challenges that states face. Insecurity is still top on that agenda, and we have that news in the story, and hopefully we are now on the path to progress. But other areas, taxation, land policies, and a number of policies state-based could either attract or distract from people coming into to invest. And so a few areas, if you look at the map, yesterday a number of people came out to talk about the potentials that Imo State has. We've heard this a number of times. The most important thing is not just to identify potentials, but to see how you can turn potential into actual prosperity for the people of Imo State. And so a few things around some areas. The governor yesterday talked about how Imo State is the digital hub. We talked about technology. So there are opportunities for investment in technology. However, on the part of the government, we must see infrastructural investment and development in the state to attract and improve investment in that area. We talk about agriculture. Imo State has cocoa, has cashew, rubber, oil palm, a few other things, and amongst many others. What are we doing to invest to ensure that we go away from subsistence farming to mechanized farming and actually invest in the entire value chain, agricultural value chain? These are opportunities that have existed for many years. Unfortunately, we've not been able to tap fully into these opportunities. Also, tourism. Imo State is the home to the Oguta Blue Lake. And then we talk about even Nollywood. As much as we talk about Nollywood, when you look at Los Angeles, for instance, one thing comes to mind, Hollywood. So we could actually be a hub of tourism through investment in social amenities, social infrastructure. The benefits are far-reaching. We can then talk about the provision of employment for the young people in Imo State, instead of at the time where they said they'll give them employment opportunities in Canada at the time. I don't even know what's happening with that. But let us improve and attract investment home so that we're able to actually provide much needed employment for the young people in Imo State, and we can actually see true prosperity. This also has a far-reaching impact on, we talk about insecurity, because we've often talked about how poverty could be an incentive for young people to get involved in criminality such as, fraud, Yahoo, as it's called in Nigeria, Yahoo. They talk about even banditry and lives of crime. So there are important conversations to have. He has invited the right people. They are sounding the right notes. But the most important thing after these kinds of summits is accountability and implementation. There's no points, because that must have cost a lot of money. I can't imagine, Dr. Bati, if they'd called an Aisha State to come and host, how much money they would have spent, instead of using homegrown talent.
Well, Jimmy Abu was also there.
Oh, excellent.
And
that's one woman I look up to, definitely.
There's another Nigerian who was
part of it. Stephanie Busari was
there. Yeah, I think she
so
handled
there were many sessions.
What I'm saying is that if you
Aisha
look at
State was the icing on the cake.
And then we saw a number of international invitations, world leaders, presidents from other countries, past leaders, presidents of multilateral institutions. And so the right people were in the room. The right private sector, Alhaji Aliko Dangote was in the room, right people in the room. The most important thing after this 2-day economic summit, well done by the Imo State government, is to see just how far-reaching the outcome would be on the state's economy and on the people's livelihood. Now, moving on very quickly, General Musa, who has now been, today is his first full day at work as a Minister of Defense. A number of tasks before him. But I'd like to emphasize the points made by Bishop Matthew Kuka in that conversation he had with our correspondent State House correspondent. He was saying that we know the issues. A lot of times we talk about the issues. If you speak to the man on the street in Nigeria, many of them can tell you, oh, this is the issue, this is the issue. What has been lacking is a concerted effort to deal with the issues. Now, the body language, the speech, the antecedents of the Minister of Defense, new Minister of Defense, demonstrates the fact that he's ready and willing to work. The President, in recent reforms in the security architecture of Nigeria, has also demonstrated a willingness to finally tackle this problem. He has talked about a joint approach, all hands on deck, and this is what we're looking forward to. We have praised his appointment, but very importantly, we're going to track his progress and ensure that Nigerians are going to be able to finally go to bed with their eyes closed and enjoy the dividends of a good government.